encouraging the girls to speak in public, which is very different from public speaking.
Yeah.
I think it starts at home, where one can have a safe conversation around the dinner table and to create a culture of conversation at home.
I agree. I think that speaking in public should start, especially for girls and boys who are particularly shy, really starting in a safe, comfortable environment and making sure that you're discussing topics at home. And then perhaps moving it into the classroom and beyond that is being prepared.
Yes,
Sometimes
absolutely.
Having a bit of information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if parents are wondering which direction to take it in, a good source of information would be articles from a broadsheet newspaper, something that you know that your daughter is interested in. Read it together, and then that can spark the conversation around the topics. Yeah. And then from that you can look at how to prepare for conversations around topics and lessons. I would suggest actually that you can even go as far as deciding what type of vocabulary or keywords you think you'd like to use that in that particular week or in that type of conversation.
Yes, I mean most of the lessons the girls will know in advance what the topic might be about, and doing a little bit of background reading, thinking of one question, and set yourself small, or set the girls small tasks. Like ask one question. So on Thursday you're going to ask one question and think about which subject you want to ask that question in, and gradually the confidence will build and they'll be more comfortable with just asking regular questions, and then that will develop into a confidence in speaking.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a question about electronic books, and there was a very interesting study that came out in Norway on what learning was done from electronic books compared with paper books. And the research showed that actually individuals retained more information from paper books than they would electronic books. And I think that's for a number of reasons. I mean, I know myself that when I use an electronic book, I don't remember the title often that I'm reading, and I'm not so immersed in the book that I understand where I am in the book and where we're going. However, there's some interesting benefits that you can get from reading on an electronic book.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, electronic devices have their place. One can ask for news feeds to be sent to your phone, and then you can sift through those on your journey so that you're not wasting any time.
I think also the fact that it has a dictionary is very helpful, because we want readers, young readers, to really push themselves and stretch themselves in their reading. And it can be challenging, there can be new vocabulary that's difficult, and having a large dictionary next to you sometimes isn't convenient.
No, but that said, I actually use my device and my book. So I have my paper book, I use my phone, look up the words, write the meaning on a post-it, and then begin to actually create word banks of vocabulary that I didn't know when I was reading the book. And that actually means that I will then practice using that vocabulary in my everyday communications. So I would say, how about using both in tandem?
I totally agree. I think using both, I think that you can use them in tandem, or you can use them one after the other. I still believe in the paper version of the book.
Especially at bedtime.
Especially at bedtime, something very special. But I think that electronic books play a massive part in our lives, and actually, environmentally, something that we are moving towards, and we should be.
Yes.
Managing mobile phones, it's very difficult. We're parents, we know that it's very difficult. I think it's really important to have rules, and family rules, and house rules. You can't ban and avoid social media or mobile phones. The technology is there and the children are going to use them. But I do think that it's really important to set boundaries. And house rules such as no mobile phones during dinner, no mobile phones perhaps after a certain time at night, or while you're having conversations, or while you're doing your organising of planning your calendar or your diary. It's really important that phones are then put aside.
Yes, and in fact, I've had conversations like this in school with many girls from sixth form down to year 7, and I think finding a negotiation point with your daughter so that they decide for themselves what time of day they would like to use their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Some pupils will come home, they'll have a snack, they might then start their homework. They will then have to be disciplined so that the homework ends and then they're allowed their phone. A way to make it easier could be to have a central charging point in the house, or they agree that it will go into a drawer. Now, part of that is building up discipline, so that your daughter will be able to establish her own routines. That will actually prepare her well for adulthood, because adults have to be self-reliant, they have to set their own boundaries, and when you negotiate with your daughter, you're helping her to mature through the process.
I think it's really important that parents model good behaviour.
Yes.
I know myself, and I know that I've spoken to parents where if you have your mobile phone with you at the table, that's setting the tone and setting the example. Parents need to put their phones away a bit more. I need to put my phone away a bit more. I think that it's really important with house rules that you all abide by those house rules, no exception.
Yes. Professional advice on mobiles as well.
Yeah.
Some of the phone companies now have advice. So if parents are looking for advice as to how to set different permissions on phones, some of the large phone companies, which I won't mention by name, have actually teamed up with the NSPCC. They've done a lot of research on how mobile phones have affected family life, and I would recommend that parents can have a look at those websites and they can contact their service provider if they feel that they would like to take it to another level where they can set permissions regarding timings of using certain things on phones.
And don't forget that there are parental controls that you can place on the phones and on other devices. They are there for a reason, and they're there because some of the websites and some of the apps are not appropriate for younger children. Also, spot checks. I don't see any problem if you're paying the bills why you can't spot check and monitor the activity, your child's activity online, and have a look at what apps they're using and what social media apps they're using. You know, there are minimum ages for these apps, and inevitably people don't abide by them, but they are there for a reason.
And actually, I think as parents, it's very useful if you team up with other parents, parents of your daughter's friends, and actually agree and establish some ground rules for all of the girls. For example, if you say no phones after 9 o'clock, that means that you're protecting your daughter from being bombarded by messages on social media after a certain time of night.
It's a minefield. It's a minefield, but I think that parents, you still have control. And while they're still living in your house and you still have control, you can monitor their own behaviour online.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to Ask the Head once again. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to email us at askthehead@nwc.gdst.net.